Have you ever looked at a severely matted dog and wondered how a soft, beautiful coat could transform into what feels like a solid wall of tangled hair? The answer is far more fascinating than most pet owners realize. Beneath every knot, every tangled strand, and every thick patch of compressed fur lies a story written by biology, environment, and time itself. A dog's coat is not a static covering. It is a living system constantly changing, shedding, growing, and responding to the world around it. When we begin to understand the science behind matting, we gain a deeper appreciation for the responsibility of coat care and the incredible complexity of our canine companions. Inspired by the educational philosophy of Dr. Karen Becker, this journey begins with a simple truth. Matting does not happen overnight. It develops gradually through a chain of natural events that often go unnoticed until the problem becomes impossible to ignore. Every movement a dog makes creates friction within the coat. As dogs run, roll, sleep, scratch, and play, individual hairs rub against one another. In healthy conditions, regular grooming separates these hairs and removes loose strands before they become trapped. However, when shedding hair remains inside the coat, it begins to weave itself into surrounding fur. This process is especially common in breeds with dense undercoats, curly textures, or continuously growing hair. The coat becomes a crowded environment where loose hairs have nowhere to escape. As days pass, those trapped strands tighten and connect, forming the foundation of a mat. Moisture adds another layer to this hidden process. Rain, humidity, swimming, morning dew, and even saliva can change the structure of hair fibers. Damp fur becomes more vulnerable to tangling because individual strands cling together more easily. When moisture combines with friction and trapped shedding hair, the conditions become ideal for rapid mat formation. What begins as a small tangle can soon develop into a dense cluster that pulls neighboring hairs into its growing network. The dog may appear comfortable on the surface, while an invisible transformation unfolds beneath the outer layer of the coat. Environmental factors also play a powerful role. Dirt, dust, plant debris, and natural oils accumulate over time, creating additional points where hairs can stick together. Areas behind the ears, under the collar, around the legs, and beneath the chest experience repeated movement throughout the day, making them particularly vulnerable to matting. These locations become hotspots where friction works continuously, quietly building tangles one strand at a time. The remarkable reality is that matting is not merely a grooming issue. It is the visible result of multiple biological and physical forces working together. Understanding these forces allows us to see the coat not as a simple layer of fur, but as a dynamic system that requires attention, knowledge, and consistent care to remain healthy and comfortable. As the science of matting unfolds, the deeper reality becomes even more compelling, because what appears to be a simple grooming issue is actually a layered biological chain reaction that builds silently over time, often without the owner noticing, until the coat has already begun to harden into dense, interwoven structure. In the middle of this hidden process lies a critical turning point where loose hairs, trapped moisture, and unnoticed friction begin to synchronize in a way that accelerates damage far faster than most people expect. Imagine a single shed hair that does not fall away as intended, but instead becomes lodged beneath a surrounding layer of fur, and then imagine hundreds of similar hairs following the same path, each one adding microscopic tension points that gradually lock into each other, like threads in a tightening net. This is where the transformation becomes almost invisible, yet increasingly irreversible, if left unaddressed. Dr. Karen Becker emphasizes the importance of understanding biological systems as interconnected rather than isolated, and the canine coat is a perfect example of that principle in action, because every strand is part of a living environment influenced by skin health, hydration, diet, movement, and external conditions. As mats begin to form beneath the surface, they do not remain static. Instead, they expand outward as each new movement of the dog presses existing tangles closer together, increasing density and reducing airflow. At this stage, what seems like a minor knot can evolve into a compact structure that resists separation, and the more the dog moves, the more tightly the fibers bind. This creates a silent escalation that often goes unnoticed during daily interactions, especially when the outer coat still appears relatively normal to the eye. Beneath that surface illusion, however, Pressure points are forming, where skin and tangled nadir begin to interact in ways that restrict natural skin function. The skin beneath a developing mat experiences reduced ventilation, altered temperature regulation, and increased sensitivity, which can gradually lead to irritation if grooming is delayed. The most deceptive aspect of this process is how easily it hides under layers of healthy-looking fur, giving owners a false sense of security while the internal structure continues to tighten. Environmental stressors intensify this effect, especially in climates where humidity fluctuates or where dogs are frequently exposed to outdoor elements that introduce debris into the coat. Small particles act like anchors, reinforcing the grip between strands and making separation and more difficult as time progresses. Even routine activities such as resting on furniture or walking across textured surfaces contribute subtle friction that accelerates interlocking. What begins as natural shedding and normal movement slowly becomes a mechanical system of entanglement, driven by physics and biology working together. The longer this process continues without intervention, the more the coat transitions from flexible fibers into compact masses that resist brushing and require significantly more effort to restore. In this quiet progression lies the true challenge of matting, because it is not sudden or dramatic, but gradual, building layer upon layer until the transformation becomes undeniable and demands urgent attention from both owner and groomer alike. The most encouraging part of this story is that severe matting is largely preventable when knowledge is combined with consistent action. Once owners understand the scientific forces behind coat tangles, they gain the ability to interrupt the process before it becomes harmful. Prevention begins with recognizing that grooming is not simply a cosmetic activity. It is a form of healthcare that supports comfort, skin function, circulation, and overall well-being. Every brushing session removes loose hair that would otherwise become trapped within the fur coat. Every careful inspection allows small tangles to be discovered before they expand into painful masses. Every effort to dry the coat thoroughly after swimming, bathing, or exposure to rain reduces the moisture conditions that encourage hair fibers to bind together. These simple habits may seem small in isolation, but over weeks and months they create a powerful protective effect. Breed-specific understanding is equally important, because no two coats behave exactly the same way. A dog with a dense double coat requires a different maintenance strategy than a dog with a curly or continuously growing coat. Owners who learn the unique characteristics of their dog's fur can make decisions based on science rather than guesswork. They can identify high-risk areas, choose appropriate grooming tools, and establish routines that match the natural behavior of the coat. This knowledge transforms grooming from a frustrating chore into a meaningful act of care. The deeper lesson extends beyond dog hair itself. The science of matting reminds us that major problems often begin as small, nearly invisible changes. A single loose hair does not create a mat. A single moment of moisture does not create a mat. A single day without grooming does not create a mat. Yet when these factors accumulate without attention, the result can become surprisingly severe. In many ways, this reflects broader patterns found throughout nature and life. Small actions repeated consistently shape outcomes more powerfully than dramatic interventions performed too late. This perspective encourages patience, awareness, and responsibility. It teaches us that prevention is often easier than correction, and that understanding a problem is the first step towards solving it. The work of educators such as Dr. Karen Becker continues to highlight the importance of viewing animal care through a scientific lens, helping owners appreciate the biological realities that influence everyday health. When we understand why matting occurs, we become more capable guardians of the animals who depend on us. We recognize that behind every healthy coat is a combination of biology, environment, and attentive care working together in harmony. The next time you run your hand through a dog's fur, remember that you are touching a remarkably complex system shaped by countless interactions occurring every day. By respecting that complexity and responding with informed care, we help ensure that our companions remain comfortable, healthy, and free from the hidden burden of severe matting. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.